Marouche. So he goes into describing what happens if you slept well. You think you slept well last night? Okay, that really means that you have bitachon. So having bitachon allows you to rest, live a life that's not going to be overwhelmed with fear, anxiety, and have a future that's going to be seriously considering having a smile on your face and being someone that's always going to be happy. It mentions he mentions a quote in the Chovot HaLevavot that's written that the essence of bitachon is the peace of mind of the person who has trust, relying on the one in whom he trusts to do what is good and correct for him in the matter for which he has placed his trust. So the big question is, where does it come from? Where does bitachon come from? What can give me real bitachon? And what I could rely on, and the question is, where can I turn to get me through such situations in life? For example, let's take the example of financial stability. Even if you have a very good job, okay, that pays you really well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have financial stability. Your boss can let you go at any single time and moment, right? He can fire you. And just because you have money in the bank, you have savings, you made it, you had a very good year, whatever it was, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that financial stability. We always learned that one of the biggest things is that Hakadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem gives you money, and it's pretty much a loan. Anything that Hashem gives you is temporary. It is a loan, and it can be taken from you at any time. So you have to see, you're using this money, you're borrowing this money from Hakadosh Baruch Hu, and it's all about how are you going to spend it, how are you going to use it, how are you going to do chesed, how are you going to live a life fulfilling what Hashem wants us to do. So does having financial wealth guarantee necessarily that we're going to be happy, we're going to have marital peace, we'll have health, we'll have children that are going to be grown up to be good people? We can't guarantee that. Money or assets cannot replace bitachon. And so we have to remember that we cannot place our trust in man. We have to remember that we cannot put our bitachon into doctors, medicine, friends, knowledge, power, skills, or lawyers. We are purely having to put our trust into Hashem and Hashem only. We sometimes have an illusion and a feeling that, hey, this is what's giving us, bitachon is really what's, having trust in these things is what's coming to the rescue to save us. But really, essentially, we have to understand and know that it's only trusting in Hashem is what's going to give us permanent security. Nothing in this world, as we know it, is forever. It's like if somebody was building, he compares a good example. He says it's as if someone is building castles in the air. I mean, that's useless, right? Bitachon has to be built on a solid foundation. Something that it's encrusted, that's going to be internal and unconditional. And so because the only certainty, the only guarantee that we have in life is Hashem. So now brings up the topic of optimism. Is optimism good or bad? And this is actually very interesting how this is addressed. Before we address why bitachon can only be in Hashem alone, we have to discuss another misconception that people have. People think that if they're going to be positive, they have bitachon. Trust in Hashem. No, it's not only about that. The rabbi had somebody that came up to him and said that, hey, the reason why your song, because he actually released the song Hashem Yitbarach Tamid Ohavoti, and he said that the reason why it became so famous, in his opinion, was because the singer gave off these positive vibes and conveyed optimism. And the rabbi didn't want to embarrass him, and he said, but he knew that someone who's optimistic is hopeful and is hopeful for positive outcomes. He focuses on the good, he doesn't focus on the bad. And yes, it's likely that, good things will happen to him as a result of being positive. But no one can really predict the future. You can't go to him. If you went to that same person and you asked him, hey, can you guarantee that you're going to live a positive outcome, positive life? He won't be able to basically guarantee that for you. And someone who's negative may find himself in more pessimistic situations, and therefore no one can really predict the future. If somebody's pessimistic, so he might live more of a negative life, he might have more issues trying to see positivity. But somebody who's optimistic, he chooses to view the world in a positive light rather than focusing on negativity. And so even though this is a great way to live your life, it doesn't guarantee you, and it doesn't mean that you have bitachon. It doesn't mean that you trust Hashem. You're just betting on a bright future. And sometimes for some people, just thinking negatively and having a negative mindset is just overwhelming. And so they decide not to live that negative life and they just want to be positive. And they think that's enough. It's enough. Let me just live a positive life and I don't need anything else. And so maybe this optimism is actually a mask concealing their deeper insecurities. And deep down inside, even an optimistic person knows that there are certain things that are beyond his control. And so when faced with a test, when he's actually being faced with a situation, can I actually, how am I going to handle such a situation when he has a big test, something very, very challenging, very difficult happens to him? How is he going to remain optimistic? It's very difficult at that point. Usually he lacks the tools at that instance to navigate such hardships because he was relying on his feelings and trying to be positive. That's a feeling rather than trusting Hashem. And now those feelings are letting him down. Thank you very much.